So this new game that's making the rounds of all the hobby channels everywhere, this Trench Crusade, I've found it to be very inspiring. Not necessarily for the game in and of itself. Let's just have a chat. Greetings, good humans, and welcome to Tabletop Alchemy, where sometimes we wish you a Merry Christmas the day after Christmas. And we thank our patrons and hope that they had a wonderful Christmas as well. There's no script today. I just wanted to hang out and have a chat and talk about something that was just on my mind when this whole Trench Crusade game came out and everything. And it has to do with inspiration and sources that it comes from, and why I think, for me, why certain things inspire me and what I don't know, I guess what I'm inspired by. Again, it's just going to be a ramble. It's the day after Christmas. I'm on vacation somewhere in the snow somewhere. And you are where you are. Hopefully everyone has nice warm and toasty drinks and fireplaces, and I don't know, if you're in Hawaii, you're probably at the beach. Yeah, so this game Trench Crusade came out, and of course I'm sure most of you have heard of it, or seen stuff about it, and I'm not really going to talk about the game itself. It's a game that's partially famous now because it made, so much money, $3+ million on Kickstarter, and that's, it's a huge deal, and they didn't expect to get that much money and all this stuff. But my inspiration that's coming from this game has nothing to do with their financial, I can't talk when I don't have a teleprompter. It's the financial thing is really not of any interest to me as far as what makes the game or the project inspiring to me. Really, there are certain things out there that I see. Obviously, there are the big game companies that make the big games. There's Dungeons and Dragons, an established game system. There's Warhammer and their established stuff, right? But there are other things that are smaller in scope from a creative force standpoint that are equally just as cool as these bigger corporately produced large team efforts at creating products or projects, right? And I find those very inspiring. Like Frostgrave is one that is super inspiring to me, and just all of Joe McCullough's, all of his titles, and then Runehammer, he has written a couple of his own game systems as well. And like this one here, Crown and Skull, I mean, you can buy this fantastic, this leather bound, red leather bound stamped cover version of his book, and or get the regular version, neither of which that I currently own. I would like to really buy that red leather version. And his Crown and Skull game is affecting me the same way that Trench Crusade is affecting me. I find them both very inspiring as a creator, or as someone who wants to create things. I tend to like these things that are complete packages. That somebody, the idea of making a complete package, like a coherent thing that comes out, it's a complete package that you can hand off to someone that they can enjoy. There's something very satisfying about that. I don't think I'll ever play Crown and Skull. Not that I have anything against it, but it's highly unlikely that I'll actually play that game. But I kind of want to own the book, just so I have this volume of this person's project that they made, and it's all collected in this nice, aesthetically pleasing format. If I ever buy anything from Trench Crusade, I would love to have a really nicely printed book. I didn't jump on the Kickstarter or anything. I listened to an interview with two of the creators, the rules writer, who is the gentleman who wrote apparently Mordheim, which is a hugely popular game that I've never played, but I know that Frostgrave is kind of a descendant of Mordheim, and the artist who basically came up with the storyline and of course does all the art for all the different factions. And in the interview that I watched with him, just talking about how he came up with stuff, it was just like he is a professional artist that works on video games and stuff like that, and he was just doing this in his off time as his own personal project, his own just hobby project, right? It's like we all have hobby projects and hobby things that we like to do. I have plenty of hobbies and whatever, right? But I kind of do them all, you know, I do, maybe one of my hobbies is Lego, right? And I'll build a Lego set now and then or whatever, or I'll do a little bit of this or whatever. I paint a couple miniatures for this game or a couple miniatures for that game. And, you know, we just have these hobbies and they're kind of disparate, or they're just little things that you do that are parts of other things. You have this guy who's got this idea that he's just playing around with as a hobby in the background of his day job and regular life and everything else. But he developed it and had such a sort of a singularity of focus. That's the wrong way to put it, but he had kind of a focus on it to where he wasn't doing a bunch of weird little hobbies. He kind of put all of his energy in his hobby time into this one thing that he kept iterating on and developing further, and it became this complete package, this complete like thing that other people could experience. And I find that super inspiring. I don't imagine that I'll ever be able to do something quite like that. I guess the closest that I can get to something like that is maybe making a movie. You know, that's a complete finite project that other people can consume or whatever. The idea of having like books on a shelf that you wrote, like every time I look at my bookshelf, I have all of Joe McCullough's, you know, all of his games, all of his game books. I mean, I have them all. I haven't even cracked into like 75% of them, but I collect them all and I just have them up there. I'm like, it must be so amazing to look at your library of finite products. And I don't mean to use the word product like a commercial thing. I mean, obviously it is, and that is very cool. Even if you had just like self-published something and kept it for himself or just gave it to a few friends, the idea that you could have this bound book and you could open it up and it's this whole thing that you could share with somebody, but it's a complete cohesive product or project is so inspiring to me. I'm just using the same words over and over because I'm super smart. You know, you can tell. I really like that, and I really wish I could do something like that. You know, that's, but I have such a fractured set of interests that I don't ever focus on one for too long. You know, like even movie making or filmmaking, you know, I'm 53 years old. Like, I made my first movie when I was 37, you know, whatever. And then I went and shot some other movies for other people, but I didn't make my own movie again. I haven't made another movie. So even that, like, it's not something that I've spent like all my time and focus doing like one sort of thing. And I've always been very envious, I guess, to be perfectly frank, of people that are able to do that. And I think it's within it's within us, even if we have this sort of fractured, you know, sort of interest in all these different things. We could decide, you know, I could decide to just focus on one thing. It is tough for me to decide to do that, but I could try to do that at least, you know, and I made small attempts at doing that. For me, like a small little stab at that was my D&D adventure that I put together. And I really kind of, you know, I really enjoyed that idea of like having this finished singular project that was bound within this finite boundary, and which sounds dumb. I don't know what I'm getting at. I talk a lot. There's a lot of things in my head that I describe things as that don't actually translate when I say them. But anyway, it was cool. It was like, I would love to have a little printed book of that little adventure just so I could put it on my shelf and be like, there's like a little book that I made. The other facet that is inspiring to me and that I really love about things like this is approaching a hobby, but at a level of professionalism that makes it into a product able to be consumed by other people. I don't know. I just wanted to chat about the idea of pursuing a hobby or a certain project within a hobby with the idea of quality in mind. There's another game that I wanted to bring up that I actually did back the Kickstarter for, and I actually have it in a box right over here. I got it a few months ago, actually, and I've got a very specific thing I want to do with it. It's not like I can't mention what it is. Let me see. I got here. I got this box. I got this. I don't know where I was looking. There's a screen down there. There's a blank teleprompter up there. That's you guys. How noisy is that? I don't even know what's in here. There seems to be other things. I mean, I didn't really go through this box yet because I was going to open it on camera. But I had to open it to check what it was. And there are things in here that I don't think I ordered, so I don't know. I don't know what this is. But let me pull it. Oh, this is cool. This is cool. Because it's a nice book. Yeah, so this is Torch and Shield, which is a Kickstarter that I backed. And I was going to do a whole... Well, there will be some videos coming out about this because I have a whole plan for... This is going to be the reason that I'm going to do Dungeon Tiles. I've never done Dungeon Tiles, and everybody has, you know, I mentioned in a previous video, you have to do Dungeon Tiles if you're a hobby YouTuber. Otherwise, they kick you out of the hobby YouTube club. So this was going to be my excuse to do Dungeon Tiles, but this book is super nice. I did not expect this to come as a hardback book. Maybe I didn't read all the Kickstarter stuff. I thought it was going to be like a spiral bound thing, which is totally fine. You know, no big deal. But this, again, this project spoke to me, hit me in that subconscious area where these other things that I mentioned, Trench Crusade and Crown and Skull and Joe stuff anyway. So this is a game that is about, it's played on Dungeon Tiles, and the idea behind it, at least the core initial idea that I saw was that, hey, you might have all these tiles from other games. Like, for example, there's a game called Gloomhaven, right? And in Gloomhaven, it's this huge box, which I have. I have Gloomhaven over there. I've opened it once, and I haven't played it. That's not to say it's a bad game. I would love to play the game. It just looks intimidating to get into. But Gloomhaven has all these tiles. They're printed cardboard tiles, right? And on these guys' Kickstarter, they were like, hey, if you've got all these tiles, we're going to make a game that you can use any game's tiles with. Now, of course, we can fabricate our own custom dungeon tiles, because that's specifically what these guys, this is about. This is about battling war bands of dwarves that are down in the dungeons, the old dwarven settlements, I guess. And there's a lot of lore with the game, so I don't want to go into it because I'm not an expert. In fact, I just got the book, right? But yeah, you have war bands, so all dwarven war bands, and they face each other down in the dungeons, which are just built out of the dungeon tiles. So it doesn't need a lot of terrain, which is very interesting. A skirmish game that doesn't need like mountains and hills and castles and ruins and rivers and all this other stuff. It's just dungeon tile based, which I found that to be pretty fascinating. But I also just liked the quality of their art, their graphic design, the way they put everything together, even the initial rule set I was able to take a look at. I believe I spoke with the creator of this via email when they were just about to run the Kickstarter, and I was able to take an early look at the PDF for the early rule set, and I was like, it's very cool. It's a little bit more crunchy than some other games. Like, it's definitely more crunchy than like Frostgrave or something. So that can be cool. Some people like that, some people don't like that, but I think it can be pretty fun. And this is just such a nicely printed book. And this is not the video I meant to be talking about this at all, but we've got some just nicely designed stuff in here. So I am really looking forward to getting into this and doing some videos on it or whatever, and we'll get there. This is another example of a game product or a product or project that also grew out of, from what I understand, from the maker, the creators, you know, kind of having this idea of like, we play games, we have all these dungeon tiles. Oh, maybe we could develop this thing out of it. And they kind of did it on the side, like as a hobby thing, maybe originally, and then they developed it into this actual product. And I thought that was super cool. I don't know. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on whatever the hell I've been saying. If you like even understand what I'm getting at. I don't know, man. The donuts are in the back. All right. See ya.